we die, strike our flame from under off from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. We fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, Aztec shore to Arctic zone to Europe and Far East. The flag is carried by our ships in times of war and peace, and never have we struck it yet in spite of foeman's mind, who cheered our crews and cheered again for showing how to fight. So here's the Coast Guard marching song. We sing.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Korean War Commemoration Ceremony. Our program is part of a national series of events marking the 50th anniversary of the Korean War. Today we honor the service and sacrifice of the brave men and women of Montana who fought for liberty and freedom in Korea. We celebrate also the 5th anniversary of the Korean War Memorial behind me, dedicated this very day, 1997. And we salute Old Glory on today, Flag Day. The organizers of this program are the Korean War Memorial Committee, the Maureen and Mike Mansfield Center of the University of Montana, and I'm pleased to introduce the interim director of the center, Joanna Shelton. We thank her. We thank her and the center for their generous contributions. And the World Affairs Council of Montana. And I'm Mark Johnson, the executive director of the council. And on behalf of all of us, thank you for coming. At this moment, I'd like to present to you our official delegation. I will introduce them briefly in the order in which they will speak. First to deliver the invocation will be U.S. Air Force Colonel Retired Ed Sperry. He will be followed by the Governor of the State of Montana, Governor Judy Martz. Following her will be the founder of the Korean War Memorial Committee, Charlie Brown. After him will be Charlie Cruikshanks. Charlie Cruikshanks is the current chairman of the Korean War Memorial Committee and the person most directly involved for today's ceremony. A special guest after him will be Mr. Eugene Chin-yu, representing the Korean American Cultural Fund. Next will be our mayor, the mayor of Missoula, Mike Kadis. Representing the United States of America and Korea are two distinguished officials. First, Major General U.S. Air Force Retired Nils Running, the executive director of the Department of Defense's 50th anniversary of the Korean War Commemoration Committee. Representing the government of Korea is Ambassador Moon Byung-rak, Consul General of Korea in Seattle. At the end of our speeches, we will have a series of award presentations. First, to present the Bronze Star to Don Schrag, followed by the presentation of special commemorative medallions to the next of kin of those Montanans, those 138 Montanans whose names are on the plaque behind me. And following that, we will give special recognition to all Korean veterans with us here today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask all of you to rise for the playing of the national anthems of the Republic of Korea and of the United States of America. Please remain standing for the invocation. Thank you.
Thank you. Please sit down for a moment. Mr. Crookshank, Charlie gave me 3 minutes. I'm going to use most of them. I didn't want you to stand all that time. Blessed are you that come in the name of the Lord. And here we meet again in this beautiful garden. The 50th anniversary of the Korean War, the 5th anniversary of this memorial. But before we pray, let's pause and think about our purpose, why we're here. We think of an anniversary as a celebration. That hardly seems appropriate. Instead, let's think today in terms of an occasion for recommitment and rededication. Over 37,000 of our countrymen fought and died in the Korean War. It turned out to be a major campaign in a 40-year war against communism, a doctrine responsible for over 100 million deaths in the past century. They fought alongside Turkish Muslim troops, Jews, Christians, Catholic, Protestant, Buddhists, all served against a foe that was godless, a foe that cared not who was killed, maimed, wounded, old, young, children, male or female. And today we face a new enemy. It claims to represent our Lord. Do they? Again, we face a foe that kills indiscriminately, but in the name of God. It's a paradox. The godless and a religious fanatic act just alike. It's a corruption of faith. I ask you to pray with me today, but in doing so, try to see more here than a mere bunch of steel and stone. This monument represents a sacred cause. It must touch your heart and soul, just as would poetry or a beautiful painting. And with determination to advance the cause of free men and women and to abide by the teaching of all honorable men of faith, let us pray. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the people of Korea, north and south. Grant wisdom and courage to our leaders. Comfort those that grieve today, whether because of past wars or present conflict. Give us, the average citizen, the insight to understand the issues and the courage to make our contribution. Give us patience, determination, so that our efforts to bring about a world of peace may be successful and worthy in your sight. Thank you for your boundless grace as we honor those who served. May each of us resolve to preserve their cause, and in doing so, serve you better. Amen and shalom. Would you join me in the pledge, please, and stand? I pledge allegiance
To the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Colonel Sperry, for that magnificent invocation. Before I present to you the governor, please have a seat, ladies and gentlemen. But before I present to you the governor, allow me to explain that her schedule is incredibly busy. She flew just moments ago from Helena, arrived here a few moments ago, and has an equally busy day ahead of her. So she will, of necessity, have to take her leave shortly following her remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great privilege and a high honor for me to introduce to you the governor of the state of Montana, Governor Judy Martz.
Thank you. Thank you. What a pleasure to be with you this morning, and thank you to the Montana Korea War Memorial Committee. Thank you to the World Affairs Council of Montana, the Maureen and Mike Mansfield Center for hosting this wonderful event. And congratulations to each and every one of you on your 5th year dedication of the Korean War Memorial here in Missoula. Our commitment to God, our commitment to community and country, they are our nation's greatest strengths. They have enabled us to rise to past challenges, and they will make us able to face the challenges we confront today. My friend Colonel Sam Roberts met me when I came in, and one of my lifelong friends from Butte, George Grotzer, Sonny Grotzer, as I came in and I watched them in their uniforms, and I realized when the memories of friends of mine serving and being injured and what it meant to them to serve this country, I truly honor each and every one of you. And I hope that today's young men and women have the same feeling of commitment in their heart that you had for us so that we could stand here today. Many of you knew exactly what was needed to face great adversity and what it means to do your duty even while faced with the loss of family and friends. You know the destruction of your surroundings and the threat of personal danger. Today it is fitting to reflect on your achievements and those hard-won lessons, to remember that as a nation we have met peril before and we've conquered it before and we will conquer it again. Montana's record of patriotism and national service makes this an excellent spot to gather and to welcome on this day those who have prepared a remarkable legacy for us. But before I continue, I'd like to ask for your help in acknowledging the defenders of that legacy. Could I please have the Korean War veterans that are with us today stand and be recognized? Would you please stand? Would you just remain standing, please? And now, could I please have all veterans from all wars and conflicts please rise and join these Korean War veterans? Ladies and gentlemen, that's almost everybody here. Please join me in thanking these heroes that have represented all of us. Thank you. You may be seated. You know, I just want to say, you know, we who are on the outside of the military, and I'm not on the outside of that as acting governor, as I am the commander-in-chief of our Montana National Guard, and I tell you, I don't take that lightly. But when I say to you, you are our heroes, most people that are in the military, men and women alike, say to me, we are not heroes, that was our duty. But to us, you are heroes. From our nation's soldiers, we've learned the true qualities of heroes, and we've also learned that from them the importance of shared purpose, selfless dedication to duty, and strong sense of community. So we as Americans and Montanans are really discovering those lessons today. We can draw on that history that you've given us to help us preserve our national unity and the solidarity of our people and what we face with this terrorism on our own land. Hard times like these gather us together. They bring us once more again to the front of what's really important, and that's the freedom that we have as we stand here together today. The true, courageous, and incredible people that have gone before us and brought us to this place we are today. So, these hard times bring us together with huge triumphs, but they come at a cost. When we do sing the national anthem, and you sing the land of the free and the home of the brave, it cannot be the land of the free without the home of the brave. In the moments of struggle that we have had, we see our leaders, our friends, our neighbors, and even ourselves, the flame of heroism that so often goes unnoticed. This event is a review course in the lessons we should have learned over the past 60 years. It is also a moment to appropriately say thank you to some of those who taught us those great lessons. So to all of you veterans who are here today, those who couldn't be here today, I again extend my warmest welcome and my deepest gratitude on behalf of all Montanans. I thank you for your service and your courage, and I thank you for reminding us of the needs for heroes and those heroes that are around us. And I thank the ambassador for being here, the general for being here, all the distinguished guests that are here today to honor this wonderful day for veterans. And I will be leaving shortly to go honor some other heroes of our state and of our country, our firemen who will be gathering in Helena today. And so I say to you, congratulations, thank you, and God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Governor Martz, for those wonderful remarks. Next, it's my honor to introduce to you the founder, the godfather in a sense, of the Korean War Memorial Committee, a man who's been very active in the community of Missoula, Mr. Charlie Brown.
Thank you, Mark. Governor Marks, Ambassador Moon, Mayor Kadis, brother and sister veterans, honored guests. On behalf of the many veterans who have contributed of themselves so much to make Rose Park a living monument to all Montanans who have served, welcome home. I'd like to give you a brief history of this park and explain how we have come to this memorial today. In 1947, the University of Montana ROTC Corps marched to Rose Park to dedicate the north end of this park and the Rose Garden. The north end of this park had been given to honor future veterans of our country. In 1986, a local group of Vietnam veterans started a statewide committee to build a Montana State Vietnam Veterans Memorial. In 1988, we dedicated that memorial. In 1990, knowing that the men and women who served during the wars of the 80s had never been honored, we created what we call the Wars of the Roses Memorial, which honors those veterans who served during Grenada, Panama, and Lebanon. In 1992, a memorial was erected to those who have served in the Persian Gulf, and we realized at that time that there was a void. So we began a committee that worked very hard and very well together, led chiefly by Charlie Cruikshanks. And on June 14th, 1997, we dedicated that memorial. That year, Senators Halligan and Mellon carried a bill to make this also a state memorial, as was the Vietnam Memorial. Also incorporated in that bill was to make Rose Park the State Veterans Memorial Park, which passed in the '98 legislature. So you are standing in the State Veterans Memorial Park with 2 state memorials, and I hope 4 in the very near future. Many people have contributed to the success of these memorials. And a good example of one success that we had was after 3 years of barter with the Department of Transportation, a new district engineer came and unfortunately got really in the middle of our conundrum, and knowing that we wanted new signs that marked both state memorials, took that task on a few months ago. And he accomplished in 2 months what we had never accomplished in 3 years. And I do want you to recognize him today, because when he called me yesterday, District Engineer of the Department of Transportation, Lauren Fraser, said, "Your signs are up." 4:30 yesterday afternoon. And he said, "I'm not sure all the paint is dry." So would you please welcome Lauren Fraser. Lauren, wave your hand so they know where you are. One last comment that I would like to make. We have never noticed or recognized the service of Montana veterans to the degree that they have served. And I would like to give you just a few interesting statistics. In World War II, Montana was #1 per capita in losses in World War II. In Korea, they were number 5. And in Vietnam, they were number 4 and number 1 in Panama. Montanans have always served with great honor and great respect for what they represent. So to all of you today, welcome home. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you very much, Charlie. We call this part of the program the Two Charlies. Our next speaker is the current chairman of the Korean War Memorial Committee. He's really much more than that. He is the person who single-handedly, almost, organized this memorial event. And in checking my notes, I noticed that we had begun this process almost 2 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to introduce a friend, Charlie Cruikshanks.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here on this beautiful day, a day with several distinctions. It's Flag Day, the United States Army's birthday, which we don't talk a lot about, and the 5th anniversary of this memorial. This memorial honors the service of over 20,000 Montanans who served, and in particular the 138 men who made the ultimate sacrifice in defending the principles of freedom in Korea 50 years ago. This memorial was made possible by the hard work, dedication, and financial support of many people and business entities throughout the state of Montana. There is no higher calling than service to country, and that's why this memorial was created, and that is why we are here today, to ensure that these men and the others who served and the sacrifices they made will never be forgotten. The Korean War Memorial Committee consisted of 18 members 5 years ago. Sadly, we lost one member, Jerry Mace, an Army combat veteran, shortly after the dedication in 1997. Right now, I'd like to have the remaining members of the committee stand and be recognized, please. Thank you. In addition, I would like to thank, on behalf of the committee, MCAT, Missoula Community Access Television, for their contribution to this event in creating a video. Also, Missoula Parks and Recreation for their continuing work in maintaining this park in such fine condition, and to the Missoula Rose Society, who have done a remarkable job in making this one of the outstanding rose culture parks in the entire United States. We also have 4 Boy Scouts from the Mullen Trail Council today. I think most of you have seen them. Thank you very much, boys. We appreciate your attendance. Thank you again for sharing this day with us. Please take time to look at the rest of the memorials, the Vietnam Memorial to the east and the others to the southeast. Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you again, Charlie, for everything that you have done. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you a special guest, Mr. Eugene Chin Yu. He is the representative of the Korean American Culture Fund. His presence today symbolizes the warm lines, ties of friendship between Korea and America. And he joins us coming from Georgia. Mr. Eugene Chin Yu.
I can't even hardly see the front row. I should drink some more milk when my mom told me to drink. Good morning. Honorable Mayor of Missoula, Mike Katos, Ambassador Moon, General Runnings, Committee Founder Charlie Brown, also Committee Chairman of Charlie Cruikshank, distinguished and honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a pleasure and great pride that I stand before you this morning to honor the Korean War veteran who fought for the freedom we enjoy so much today. My name is Eugene Chin Yu, and I trust my belief, which I express to you in words this morning, are shared by all Korean Americans living across the United States today. As you know, this year is the second of the year of we are commemorating the 50th anniversary of the start of the Korean War. On the 25th of June 1950, early Sunday morning, when North Korean communist troops slammed into the South Korea, the American armed forces, along with the dear UN allies, responded by fighting alongside with the Korean armed forces in the air, on the ground, as well as the sea. These forces would make many sacrifices before the fighting was over. Expression of our recognition and gratitude of these American forces, along with our UN ally, is a long overdue. The young American men and women fought wounded, and died on Korean soil for Korea, and especially people that did not even know. Some of them didn't even know what Korea was. They were fighting against the communists, protecting democracy and human rights. Most important thing, their nation asked them to do so. Many soldiers did not return to the dear loved one they left behind. And those who did not return home were never able to enjoy the bounty of peace and freedom in the nation they had so honorably served. In my thought, I'm reminded of a man like you in your late teens and early 20s, and the lessons on death, fate, fertility, and pure high-risk adventure that were never to be matched in your other experiences of life. Sometimes special thanks is difficult to express, but this should not stop us in our effort to express our feeling for the many who gave their life, the many who were wounded, and many who survived the war. And we shall not forget the prisoner of war who endured so much torment and suffering. And to this day, the missing in action who are still unaccounted for. Now, once again, Korean War veteran, family, and spouses, it is time for we, Korean American, who become American citizens, to express from our heart our love to the people who made it possible for us to be here in America. We enjoy the freedom this American flag has brought to we Korean and to so many others of our generation. We as a Korean American clearly understand now what the red stripes in the American flag symbolizes. The bloodshed not only in Korea, but all the war fought since the beginning of this United States of America for freedom around the world. While both my wife and I are born Korea, South Korea. My two children, Jody and Eric, were born here in USA, better known Augusta, Georgia. You ever heard that? And my two children are proud American and may always enjoy the freedom you made it possible. Also, I want to tell you one thing. My date of birth is July 27, 1953, 8 p.m. In other words, that I'm supposed to hear from my family. I was born right after when both sides of the stop fight. So they always call me, I'm the peaceable boy. However, without you guys, I won't be here this morning. Therefore, I thank you very much. All American veterans share a special common bonds of experience, forging, sacrifice, and danger for the benefit of citizens in this great country. Thank you, veteran. I am proud to be part of what being American stands for. The strength of our country foundation was built brick by brick. It started at Valley Forge and continued through modern technology of warfare in Desert Storm and current situation of a terrorist act in New York, our war in Afghanistan, and we will work to stop this act. Now, let me talk about the hero. As I said earlier, you are my hero. And the hero from the rank from the private to the corporals, the sergeants and the seamen and airmen, lieutenants and captains, the majors and colonels in general. There are so many heroes. There is one general known by all Korean. He's a Korean war hero. I'm sure all you guys may agree with me. His name is General Douglas MacArthur. in his last address to the United States Congress, said that all soldiers never die, they just fade away. What a magnificent speech. Now, in the hearts and minds of the Korean people, those young men and women who fought for our cause will never fade away. They will remain forever young, vibrant, and brave. As long as the Korean nation endures, they will always be remembered. God bless y'all, and God bless America. Thank you. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chinyu. I should mention that he and his wife, Joni, have graciously donated several very special medallions that we will present shortly. Our next speaker is our mayor, the mayor of Missoula. I know he's a very powerful official, and I think anyway, he's responsible for this very fine weather. So would you join me, please, in welcoming Mayor Mike Cadis.
You perhaps wondered why it rained so much last week. We all have to make trade-offs. I want to welcome all of you, and particularly I'd like to welcome our guests from Korea. I think it is a great honor that they have come to join us here today. Very simply, from our community, I want to thank all the men and women of Western Montana who have worked so hard to create this memorial, to give us the vehicle to honor the men who died 50 years ago for our preservation of history, the preservation of our freedoms. It is a great honor for all of us, but it is the work of many of you in this audience who have created the vehicle for that honor, and that is this memorial. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Representing the United States of America now, our next speaker, Brigadier General, U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, Major General, excuse me, Major General. I'll start over. United States Air Force, Major General Nels Running from Frenchtown.
Ambassador Johnson, you have a great sense of humor. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the introduction. Ambassador Moon, Mayor Cadis, Charlie Brown, Charlie Crookshanks, Eugene Chinyu, a gentleman I met in Savannah, Georgia a couple of months ago when we had a commemoration ceremony, who doesn't tell the whole story. Besides being the armistice baby, Korean Armistice Day birth, he and his lovely wife have a very successful business based in Augusta, Georgia, and indeed beyond the United States Department of Defense and others, he has a number of international customers for their line of products. A living example of what the opportunity our Korean War veterans bought with their blood, that Koreans are doing all over the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Montanans, I'm thrilled and honored to be here with you today. When I was called to Washington 2 years ago to take the helm of the 50th Anniversary Korean War Commemoration Committee, I went with a great deal of emotion. Having just returned to Montana 2 years prior to that, after my 37 years military service, I was not quite ready to go back to Washington, D.C. One tour of duty in Washington, D.C. is more than enough. Having had 3, I knew I'd had my fill. But the pleasure I've had in the 2 years hence is magnified by efforts like this of the patriotic, devoted individuals here in western Montana, across the United States, and internationally, particularly among the 20 nations that joined Korea and the United States in that great battle 50 years ago. We Americans learn our lessons well when we keep our minds focused on the point. As a nation, we have not done well in learning the lessons from our armed conflicts, our wars. World War I was a terrible, terrible war. Prolonged battles, millions upon millions of deaths. And in the end, America was forced into the war and was the saving grace. Freedom was preserved and peace prevailed. And a few years after World War I, nations began to cooperate and indeed formed an international organization you will recall from your history lessons, the League of Nations, which was to preserve peace for all time. Enough of civilizations of war, let us have a civilization of peace. You know too well that it failed. Yes, internationally it failed, but we too failed to learn a lesson. And on the heels of the armistice ending World War I came the great deflation of the armed forces of the United States, and we were left ill-prepared. Ill-prepared for what surely, upon the failure of the League of Nations, would come, and it was yet another devastating war. World War II, again, America unprepared, took some time to get involved. We were content within our own shores to live the peace we had fought so hard for in World War I. But it was not to be. Without the United States, the free world was falling and failing to the Axis powers. America entered that war, but it took every American devoted to the machine to build the arms, the weapons, and to provide the logistic support that would get our forces into that war and sustain them for that effort. We had not learned the lesson, but surely we would learn it now. Not so. With the peace that came in August 1945, it was a matter of weeks before the American military machine, over 100 divisions strong, thousands and thousands of aircraft, the largest navy ever the world would see, began to recede and were left again with the inability to sustain a major war effort. But there was hope, because out of World War II came the cooperation among nations that fostered the development of another international organization. This time we would get it right. The United Nations would be chartered and structured that no one could refuse to be a member of a peace-loving, peace-sharing organization. Our forces found the free world asleep. Indeed, even our Korean allies had less than 1/3 of their troops online that Sunday morning. Many of them had been in Seoul and other cities the evening before in celebration, enjoying the peace that had come. The United States had 4 divisions of its army on occupation duty in Japan. Many of those soldiers had fought in World War II, but many were new to the Army, new to the armed services, and in their days, weeks, months of duty supervising administrative development, rebuilding of Japan, they had not fired the rifle down range, they had no tanks to maneuver, they had not prepared for war. But what could we do? For there was naked communist aggression, bent on taking the freedom that had been fought for in World War II and was now to be denied. Quickly they joined, but the United Nations, responding to the call, took very quick action as well. Fortunately, the Soviet Union representative was boycotting the United Nations because the Soviets wanted the Communist Chinese to have the chair that was occupied by the Free Chinese. With them absent and their veto power gone, the United Nations was able, through a series of resolutions, to call upon the world to come to the aid of South Korea, to stop the communist aggression, to indeed provide forces, and for the first time in history, a United Nations, an international organization, sent forces into combat to defend freedom. Now, what does that mean to us in Montana? What does that mean to the individual soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman? Nations cooperate internationally. The United Nations, a large building, diplomats of high stature gather, presidents, congressmen, department secretaries, all of these great leaders talk about calling upon the nation, call upon nations, join in the war effort. But the call comes to you, the individual, with the badge, with the ribbons, perhaps with the wounds of the last war. Calls upon you, that committee of your friends who identify you as eligible and ready. Say, please come serve. Serve this flag. Serve this flag which has served this nation so well. And you respond. You don't think that this is not for me. You don't run off across the border to enjoy your own freedom in another land. Indeed, you respond. You gather in the ports, the aerodromes, and you move to Korea. And you get there, and in the early stages, you find yourself very poorly equipped, and you find yourself with others who know not what they are doing there in that land halfway around the world. And who are these people? The people you've never met, perhaps not even heard of. But you fight. For some reason, you fight. Because deep within the soul, Americans do appreciate freedom. Americans do not take advantage of all our forefathers fought for and preserved. Americans do understand. And our allies not infrequently ask the question, why? How is it that America would do that? It's the love of that flag. It's the love of the freedom. It's the knowledge that if we don't do it, no one will. That war, that bloody Korean War, saw 1.8 million of our American service members in service in combat. And yes, nearly 37,000 did not leave that peninsula alive. Our 138 Montanans, with their names chiseled in that granite, are forever remembered. But also remembered are those of you who did come back, those with the wounds, the Purple Hearts, the badges of suffering, and the psychological wounds, because no one can remain unmarked by the awful suffering and death you experienced and saw. Montana has responded. I appreciate Charlie's remembrance for us of the facts. Montana is home. Montana, this big sky, we appreciate every day, is the basis of what is called patriotism. And yes, 9/11 was an horrific attack, another early morning attack. It seems all too often. And it found us unprepared. Oh, we had a fairly strong military. Readiness is pretty good. But what we didn't understand was this terrorism which was growing and which would threaten us more and more. And yet, as a nation, we didn't respond in like. Our intelligence services were not coordinated, and we were surprised. Once again, however, America has rallied to the cause. The cause is back to freedom. Freedom that you fought for and preserved in Korea is threatened again today. And if we don't, as a nation, as a people, respond, then where will we be? We will indeed find ourselves robbed of our freedom and destitute in suffering for all time to come. 138 Montana lives. What was it for? Was it worth the cause? Eugene Chin-Yu, Ambassador Moon, representing a people where I have served in Korea 3 tours of duty, 6 years of my career in Korea. I cannot remember a day when a Korean on the street, a Korean on my base working for me, a Korean I met on a social occasion, the mayors, the governors, the government officials surely, but students, my housewoman, the cook, Mama-san at the Katusa snack bar, who served me kimchi every day. Always a Korean would say thank you. Not thank you, nails running, not what you've done or what are you doing. Yes, it's important you're here, America, today. 36,000 Americans still in Korea, 2nd Infantry Division on the line, 8th Tactical Fighter Wing. No, thank you, America, for what you did. What you bought with those 138 Montana lives and the sacrifices of our veterans who survived, and the 1.8 million Americans who served, the 37,000 who died, is opportunity. Opportunity to see freedom and democracy flourish. Now, I asked the committee about the design on this memorial, and that gold V in the center of the Montana Korean War Memorial. Perhaps not. Design by design. The artist conceived it. It adds a very nice touch. But you notice it is in the form of a V. That is for the victory. Korean War, victory. Equal terms. Victory. Victory over communism because you stopped them. They didn't get beyond the 38th parallel where they started, and they did not take away the freedom of South Korea. Victory for freedom and democracy because the Korea that was left absolutely wasted has risen phoenix-like to a modern nation of 47 million, an economy that is somewhere in the rank of 10th or 11th in the world. Our 4th or 5th largest trading partner, the United States-Korea trade, huge business, indefatigable people who thrive on the freedom you secured. Yes, I think you would say if you visited Korea today, it was worth it. On the 38th parallel, you stand looking north and you see a wasteland. You see across the way a Potemkin village, false fronts, music playing over loudspeakers, children's voices, pretending to be happy. The lights are on, the shades are up, no one is home. It's empty. Empty ideologically, empty in faith, empty of the freedom and democracy which makes people flourish. Terrific, terrific thing you have done in Montana to honor those who have died in the service of their country, in the service of the world. The free world appreciates the United States appreciates, we, the people of Western Montana, appreciate what you did. God bless our Korean War veterans and families. God bless America.
Bravo. Outstanding. We thank General Running for those stirring remarks, and we also thank General Running for his continued service to our country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce to you the representative of the Korean government, Ambassador Moon Byung-rok. Ambassador Moon is one of Korea's most distinguished diplomats. He is currently serving as the Consul General for the Northwest in Seattle. Please join me in welcoming to Montana Ambassador Moon.
Honorable Mayor Mike Cadas, General Running, Mr. Cruikshanks, Mr. Charlie Brown, Mr. Eugene Jinyu, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Hanging in a special place in my official residence is a moving print of a soldier who is engraved in the wall of the Montana Korean War Memorial. With his head bowed, gazing at the empty helmet of a fallen fighter, this soldier may be anguished at having been unable to save the life of his comrade. Perhaps he is looking with gratitude and sorrow upon the helmet of man who lost his life in his defense. When I look at this picture, I share in this soldier's heartache and imagine that the helmet might have belonged to one of 138 Montana's Korean War veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice to save the Korean people from communist invasion 50 years ago. On behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Korea, today I again bow my head to those heroes who gave their noble lives for the defense of our homeland, and extend our sympathies to the families who lost their beloved fathers, husbands, and brothers in that remote land. Also, I'd like to thank the Montana Korean War Memorial Committee, the Montana World Affairs Council, the Marine and Mike Mansfield Center, and those who have dedicated their time and energy to arranging this meaningful event. It is hard to believe that a half-century has passed since the Korean Peninsula was overcome by the horrible fratricidal war, over which I and many others still have vivid memory. Since those dark days, South Korea has come a long way, rising from the ashes of destruction to become the 12th largest economy and one of the strongest democracies in the world. South Korea has transformed from a battleground to an arena for peaceful international festivals, as demonstrated by the Summer Olympics in 1988 and its co-hosting of 2002 World Cup Soccer Games in Seoul, which is now in full swing. There is no doubt in my mind that one of the most important factors in my country's success has been the United States' unfaltering commitment to the maintenance of peace and security on the Korean Peninsula. In fact, our partnership is even evident in our soccer games, as Korea and the US games last week ended in 1-1 tie. And furthermore, this morning, Korean team beat Portugal, making US team qualified to advance to the second level. Known as the Forgotten War, the Korean War has become a distant memory for many Americans. However, the Korean people have never forgotten the tremendous sacrifices made on our behalf. I would like to take this opportunity to assure you that the righteous efforts of your Korean War veterans were not in vain. If it were not for that noble sacrifice, the freedom, democracy, and the economic prosperity now enjoyed by the Korean people would be unattainable. We are strongly committed to removing the last legacy of the Cold War from the Korean Peninsula. Critical changes are taking place in inter-Korean relations, culminating in the first ever inter-Korean summit meeting held in June of 2000. Substantial progress has followed, including the exchange of business between separate families, agreements of joint ventures, and palpable reduction in the tensions between the two Koreas. And though the talks between South and North Korea have stalled and experienced ups and downs, they are expected to resume in time. Since last September, the world has been conducting another war, a global effort to eliminate the threat of terrorism. We, the next generation, now hold the responsibility to fulfill the promise of our elders to work in our own right for the promotion of freedom and democracy. South Korea stands firmly by the United States, our closest friend and ally, in the fight against terrorism. And we will not hesitate to provide all the necessary cooperation and assistance as we have done for us. If we have learned one important lesson from history, it is that freedom is not free. The Korean War Appreciation medals that will be presented today is the meager expression of the long-standing desire of the Korean people to give special recognition to all those who fought for freedom of our country. We feel this gratitude deep in our hearts, and it will remain with us forever. The Korean War Memorial on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. bears this inscription: "Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered their country's call to defend a country they did not know and the people they had never met." I cannot think of more fitting words to describe the bravery, sacrifice, and the dedication of all those who fought to defend freedom for a nation across the ocean several thousand miles away. The Korean people will never forget your service to our country. We will forever harbor in our hearts your firm belief in democracy and freedom. Dear Korean War veterans and the families of veterans, you are not forgotten. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ambassador Moon, for those words that we are deeply grateful for. And again, we appreciate your coming to Missoula. 2 years ago, Ambassador Moon was here and we couldn't see out past the trees because of the fires. So I'm glad he's had a chance to see some of the beauty of Montana. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to proceed to the award of several medals and commemorative medallions. First, we will have General Running and Ambassador Moon present the Bronze Star Award, one of our country's highest military decorations, to Mr. Donald A. Schrag. May I ask Donald Schrag to come forward and present himself for the awarding of the medal. Ladies and gentlemen, this nomination was made in 1953. For reasons that none of us can quite explain, the paperwork, whatever, was lost. Nevertheless, we have not forgotten. Allow me to read the nomination for the Bronze Star Medal to Donald A. Schrag, then Private First Class, United States Army. The United States of America has awarded the Bronze Star Medal to Donald A. Schrag, then Private First Class United States Army, for meritorious achievement while serving with Headquarters and Headquarters Detachment 303rd Communication Reconnaissance Battalion in the Republic of Korea in July 1953. Intelligence information suggested a major assault was planned by the enemy to hit an Allied brigade sector, and the Allied commander needed to confirm the legitimacy of the information. Private Schrag volunteered to get the intelligence documentation from the forwardmost outpost, which was under heavy shelling and intense small arms fire. His successful delivery of the documentation enabled the Allied to fight a decisive battle and repel the assault. Private Schrag's loyalty, diligence, and devotion to duty were in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit on himself, the 303rd Communication Reconnaissance Battalion, and United States Army. Signed 11 March 2002, Thomas E. White, Secretary of the Army. Thank you very much, Don. And now, ladies and gentlemen, General Running and Ambassador Moon will present special Korean medallions to the next of kin of the 138 brave Montanans who gave their lives in Korea. Would all the next of kin please come forward? Thank you all very much. And though your loved ones are gone, they are not, nor will they ever be forgotten. And their service is deeply appreciated. And now it's my honor to call forward all Korean War veterans here present for the award of special commemorative medallions by General Running Ambassador Moon and Eugene Shin Yu. Please come forward. My goodness. Brian. 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 Go over here and help Charlie with the medal, get the medallion, make it more smooth. Just stand with Charlie. Yeah, sure. Yeah. For all the family members who want photos, please feel free to come forward and take pictures.
Yeah. Don't forget your box, because you'll have another box.
I also want to make sure that all veterans who receive the medallion sign our book here so that we can follow up with the presentation of a photograph marking this event. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Oh,
No, no.
I'm on your way?
No, no, it's done.
I'm going to have this gentleman sign there.
That's grand.
What's that noise?
We got them all now?
Why don't we support this for right now, finish the program, and then sign up there last week.
Okay, all right. Let this gentleman sign and then we'll break down.
Gentlemen, we're going to halt this part of it right now. Take your seat after we finish with the wreath ceremony. Maybe someone will take that.
Hi. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue now with our program. We'll ask our veterans and our audience please to take your places. We want to proceed to the wreath laying ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you all to please rise now. Please rise for the wreath laying ceremony. Direct your attention to the center of the monument, please. And following the wreath ceremony, we will have the playing of taps and a moment of silence. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our program today. Thank you all for joining us in honoring the memory of our heroes past and present. And we thank our official party for joining us as well. Thank you all very much. Hi. How are you? Get down here. Come on. Imagine Adrian. Yeah, I hope they're doing fine. They're still in Virginia, out in Fairfax. Good. Oh, great. I know that. Yeah. Yes, give her a love. Everybody. Boys are long gone. All went to the academy. One's married. I know Adrian is married. Probably has kids. Does he?
Yes, he does. He's a lawyer. And
Yeah.
the other one is a baby. And
Matthew.
Matthew. Right.
Yeah.
That's the baby. And
Good. That's like your brother.